Lee Kuan Yew as a major character in history.
Here are 5 amazing fun facts I bet you never knew about Christianity.
Number 1, there are over 2.4 billion Christians worldwide.
Amazing fun fact number 2. The Bible is one of the best-selling books of all time, with more than 100 million copies sold every year.
Most Christians believe in heaven and hell.
The Bible is the most translated book in the world, with more than 3,000 languages.
Amazing fun fact number 5. Most Christians throw science out of the window without realizing that most scientists are Christians. Hello, I am Pastor Steve Akinwumi.
And I am Dr. ATEWEH Oyewole.
Join us as we highlight and discuss day-to-day issues pertaining to the day-to-day living of every Christian.
Issues in Christendom shows every Sunday on Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on StarTimes.
Evelyn Ohiole,
Hi.
King Eve. How are you today?
I'm good, I'm fine, I'm alive.
I really feel like she's not giving the right answer to the question. When one asks you, how are you? And you said, you're saying, I'm alive. It's very annoying, seriously. How are you? I'm fine. I feel I'm fine would be the right answer instead of I'm alive. Not that I asked you if you're dead before.
Go and check all these 14-year-old, 15-year-old, 16-year-old, everybody, they are extraordinarily sexually active.
I feel is being unnecessarily hyper when it comes to the issue of sex, because we talk about other topics and it feels so reserved. It really doesn't have anything much to say when it comes to other stuff. But when it's the issue of sex, I believe it's being unnecessarily hyper. That's when I have to pick an issue with him. I mean, it's just being unnecessarily there when we're talking about sex. Just like a child, his mom just got him his favorite chocolate or ice cream, very happy, doing as though if he doesn't have sex for a day, he's going to die.
When it comes to finance, women also support their husbands financially. You need me emotionally. You need me spiritually.
Cass is an amazing person, but I hate the too much attachment to that gender. I need you spiritually, I need you mentally. I can get these things anywhere with money. If you go by the topic was, who does marriage favors the most? You know how many jobless women they marry every Saturday? They are saying it favors you, favor. Are they vex so?
Growing up, when I was in the world, we've heard of
Who are you now?
Well, MC Too Much said, he likes saying when I was in the world. And the last time I checked, well, it looks a bit innocent, facially, but deep down, she's actually out of this world. We're all in the world now. As long as you're alive, you're in the world. So, MC Too Much, I beg when you talk about that. I don't want to hear that. Next time you talk, I kiss my words.
I think I have a problem with you saying ladies are champion, and that's the problem. Always trying to attach too much importance to that gender.
It's giving insecurity, it's giving low self-esteem, it's giving a blatant display of egoism. Because at the end of the day, a man who is secured in his words, a man who is confident of who he is, will not really be disturbed as to whether women are being referred to as champions or not. I mean, at the end of the day, Joseph's a really great guy, but whether he likes it or not, women are champions.
Arrested, affected, sound, found. What do we see? What do we say? Flowing from a spring. A fact A to Z. Check and confirm. Ever is pounding current events. traveling down from the business gist to the globally arising happenings, to the sports news, to the bittersweet infos. Guided transmission, even diffusion, vast and fast, detailed facts are fled. Within seconds, nuggets of words that flew across borders are fired. Stories short and long, wrapped in bundles of words, broken and dissected as it is, except misheard. This is the news as it is.
The Korean War of 1950 to 1953 pitched North and South Korea against each other in response to intrigues by nations beyond their border with different interests from those canvassed by the two brother nations. The Korean War had all the nuances of an external conflict induced by powers that were interested in subjugating North and South Korea. Japan had leveraged on its military power to annex Korea in 1900 and imposed a military union that did not sit well with the citizens. Japan not only lost its war of conquest against Korea, all its powers were obliterated by the effect of the World War II. The end of World War II got Korea divided into two nations along 38th parallel lines by the instrumentality of the United States of America and the Union of Soviet Socialist Republic. The Korean War lapsed into a Cold War when it stopped the prying eyes of external forces into the internal affairs of a nation now divided along its north and southern territories. Western Spring Television identifies the Korean War as a major event in history.
Evelyn Ohiole,
Hi.
King Eve, how are you today?
I'm good, I'm fine, I'm alive.
I really feel like she's not giving the right answer to the question. When one asks you, how are you, and you said, you're saying, I'm alive. It's very annoying, seriously. How are you? I'm fine. I feel I'm fine would be the right answer instead of I'm alive. Not that I asked you if you're dead before.
Go and check all these 14 years, 15 years, 16 years, everybody, they are extraordinarily sexually active.
I feel is being unnecessarily hyper when it comes to the issue of sex, because we talk about other topics and he feels so reserved. He really doesn't have anything much to say when it comes to other stuff. But when it's the issue of sex, I believe he's being unnecessarily hyper. That's when I have to pick an issue with him. I mean, it's just being unnecessarily there when we're talking about sex. Just like a child. His mom just got him his favorite chocolate or ice cream. Very happy. Doing as though if he doesn't have sex for a day, he's going to die.
When it comes to finance, women also support their husbands financially. You need me emotionally. You need me spiritually.
Cassie is an amazing person, but I hate the too much attaché to that gender. I need you spiritually, I need you mentally. I can get these things anywhere with money. If you go by the topic was, who does marriage favors the most? I know how many jobless women they marry every Saturday. They are saying it favors you, Are they vague so?
Growing up, when I was in the world, we've heard of
Who are you now?
Well, MC Too Much said, he likes saying when I was in the world. And the last time I checked, well, it looks a bit innocent, facially, but deep down, is actually out of this world. We're all in the world now. As long as you're alive, you're in the world. So MC Too Much, I beg you to talk about that. I don't want to hear that. Next time you talk about like his own.
I think they have a problem with you saying ladies are champion, and that's the problem. Always trying to attach too much importance to that gender.
It's giving insecurity, it's giving low self-esteem, it's giving a blatant display of egoism. Because at the end of the day, a man who is secured in his words, a man who is confident of who he is, will not really be disturbed as to whether women are being referred to as champions or not. I mean, at the end of the day, Joseph's a really great guy, but whether he likes it or not, women are champions.
Ahmadu Bello, a Prince Royal, was born 6th of December 1910 at Raba Village, Sokoto, northwestern Nigeria. His father was a district head and heir apparent to the Sultanate throne from the house of Usmanu Danfodio, a religious and social reformer who brought the Habib dynasty under the Fulani Caliphate in the beginning of the 19th century.
Western Spring Television, ours it is.
Good morning, it's the midweek edition of the show Sports Spring on Western Swing Television, and we're set to give you stories making headlines in the ever-busy world of sports. On the show this morning, we're talking extensively about the African Cup of Nations as we understand that the lineup is all done and dusted. My name is Joseph ATEWEH, saying good morning.
And I am NENGI Ademola. Thanks for joining us on the midweek edition of Sports Spring on Western Spring Television. A whole lot to talk about, but definitely we're starting with the 2023 AFCON, just like Joseph has rightly stated. The final lineup for the AFCON 2023, which is slated for January 2024, is done and dusted. All of the qualifiers are done and dusted, and we'll be bringing you news and updates on that particular aspect. And definitely, That is where we're starting from, Joseph. And the final lineup for next year's African Cup of Nations in Cote d'Ivoire is complete after Cameroon and Namibia secured their spots on Tuesday. Now, the Indomitable Lions booked their place at the 19th straight finals, thrashing Burundi 3-0 in Garoua to top Group C. And goals from Brian Mbuemo, Christopher Wu, and Vincent Abubakar sealed the comfortable win to see off the challenge of Namibia, who took second and also sealed their place in the competition. Cameroon joins host nation Cote d'Ivoire and 22 other qualified teams at the tournament in January next year. I believe by now the picture of those teams that have qualified should be displayed rather on the screen. Now, continental giants Senegal, Egypt, Nigeria, Ghana, Morocco, and Algeria are among those who have also booked their tickets. So there you have it on the screen. Those are the 30 more countries that have booked their ticket to the finals of the AFCON, talking about January next year, which is 2024. Nigeria, of course, are still in their victory all throughout the qualifying sessions and series as it concerns the AFCON 2023, finishing top on their table, 15 points. And of course, others right there, we have Cote d'Ivoire, Algeria, Angola, Burkina Faso, Mali, Mauritania, Morocco, Mozambique, not leaving out the likes of South Africa, Senegal, Namibia, Egypt, DR Congo, Cape Verde, Cameroon, Equatorial Guinea, Ghana, Guinea-Bissau. We also have Guinea, Tanzania, the Gambia, Tunisia, and Zambia. This is the final lineup for the AFCON 2023.
And talking about the final lineup, we have the countries that have qualified, same as the referees that will be officiating, but a Nigerian referee or Nigerian referees were snubbed. And this has raised a concern from sports stakeholders in the country. Why we don't have a single referee from Nigeria, not even an assistant referee, made the cut, and this happening.
Well, let's give you details before we get into the complaints that so many people have been talking about. Now, the Confederation of African Football, that's CAF, has once again ignored Nigerian referees from the list of officials at the forthcoming 2023 African Cup of Nations in Ivory Coast. This was confirmed after the Confederation of African Football published a list of officials for the tournament on their website. A total of 32 center referees, 33 assistant referees, and 2 VAR officials were listed by CAF for the preparation course ahead of the showpiece. Shown on your screen, those are the names of all of the referees, including VAR, technical and physical instructors, and of course local referees in that one. Now, Egypt and Algeria have the highest number of names penned down in the center referees list, 3 each, as Morocco, Mauritania, and Mauritius have 2 each. Other countries featured on the list are Gabon, Ghana, Benin, Congo, Somalia, and a host of others. And talking about those who would stand in for VAR, 4 VAR referees were selected from Mauritanians, South Africa, Morocco, and Egypt, and 7 technical instructors and physical trainers from Zimbabwe, Burundi, Cote d'Ivoire, Senegal, Morocco, and Djibouti were also selected. So there you have it. That's the list being displayed on your screen. We do not have any Nigerian in that one. And to what Joseph has rightly stated, talking about the fact that so many people have questioned why it is like that. Why would you not have any Nigerian referee in that list? On the Punch newspaper this morning, they reported that the Nigerian Referees Association has lamented the exclusion of Nigerian referees from next year's African Cup of Nations in Ivory Coast, saying it is working to reposition its officials for excellence on the continent after the Confederation of African Football snub. You know, in my thoughts, Joseph, I think you should first of all do the needful before anyone can be serious about you talking about CAF.
No, but they are CAF licensed referee in Nigeria. The referees are in Nigeria, CAF B licensed referees, and that's a huge one. And before CAF can issue such a certificate for you, or to you, I should say, you know, it means that you must have proven yourself, and it means that you're capable of officiating any game. So when the snub comes in, I mean, one question was the CAF decisions, and it's quite unfortunate. But I agree with you to an extent too, that we haven't done enough in our own, because we've seen poor officiating over the years, even in our local leagues, and that has also, you know, rubbed off on these referees. And we can only hope that things change, but I don't see change even in the next 5 years.
Well, you just said hope. So definitely it might change at this point in time. Now let's move away from details and updates coming from the 2023 AFCON, and let's talk about the NFF and the Super Falcons coach. The Punch has exclusively learned that the Nigerian Football Federation has begun contract renewal talks with American coach Randy Waldron, who led the former African champions to a round of 16 finish at the 2023 Women's World Cup in Australia and New Zealand last month. Now, following reports that Waldron had been sacked after the NFF held its executive committee meeting in Uyo on Sunday, an aide to the NFF president who spoke on condition of anonymity told The Punch that the federation officials were happy with the American gaffer's performance at the World Cup and thus urged its technical committee to immediately reach out to Waldron for the renewal of a new deal, a 1-year contract. So the reports flying around are false, and what we have coming from the Punch newspaper this morning is the fact that the technical committee are in movement to be able to renew Randy Waldron's contract for the Super Falcons of Nigeria.
And let's move away from that. We'll talk about the draws for the Under-17 World Cup, and NENGI has got more details on that.
Of course, I have for the World Cup, talking about the 2023 FIFA Under-17 World Cup. Now, the 2023 FIFA Under-17 World Cup draw will hold on 15th September 2023 without Nigeria, one of the best teams in the competition. After winning the West African Football Union Under-17 tournament, Nduka Ugbade-led team couldn't pick the World Cup ticket at the CAF Under-17 African Cup of Nations. The draw for the 2023 FIFA Under-17 World Cup will hold in Zurich on September 15, announced the global football body on Tuesday. And the West African country, Nigeria, won the inaugural edition in 1985 and has gone on to win in 4 extra occasions to become one of the most successful nations in the tournament's history, with 5 titles and further 3 appearances in the finals, which they lost. So it is obvious that we're not participating in this year's FIFA Under-17 World Cup. But the tournament, which will be hosted by Indonesia, will be contested by the following teams. And of course, you can see it on your screen right there: Argentina, Brazil, not to leave out the likes of Morocco, Mexico, New Zealand, Panama, Poland, Senegal, Spain, USA, Uzbekistan, and Venezuela. The 24 nations will be drawn into 6 groups of 4. The teams have been split into 4 pots, with 1 team from each pot to be drawn into each group. And teams have been allocated into pots based on a point system determined by their performance at the past 5 editions of the FIFA Under-17 World Cup, and with the nations that won their respective confederations qualifying tournament awarded 5 bonus points. Of course, we've had it displayed on the screen at times without number, talking about the pots. We have 4 pots as it concerns that. And just to also remind you that on the 15th of September would stand to see the 2023 FIFA Under-17 World Cup draws. And Joseph, I think we saw the qualifying process and Nigeria was not able to get to that one.
Well, it was disappointing. We expected more from the team.
The 5 times champion.
Yeah, to get to the World Cup proper. And, well, it happens. The same countries will won the FIFA World Cup and failed to qualify. So it's a norm. I hope they get something done about it. We'll talk about the African Handball Championship as Coach Shitu has released this finalists.
Absolutely. And that is one area that Nigeria, of course, is known to thrive in, that's handball. Now, ahead of the forthcoming Under-18 African Women's Youth Nations Championship, Coach Agbola Shitu has released the final list of players that will represent the country. The national Under-18 girls handball team had been undergoing intensive training camp at the Rowe Park Sports Center in Yaba, Lagos, under the tutelage of Coach Shitu and his assistant. Bielsa Queen's manager, Coach Opuene Roberts, ahead of the Continental Championships. 18 players had been invited, and after more than 2 weeks of camp, 15 players were selected, with many of the players, the core of the team that participated and won the IHF Trophy African Zone 3 tourney and IHF Trophy African Continental Phase in Ghana and Ivory Coast. Let's just rush through the list and how it stands for the Nigerian handball team for the African Championship. The list has Captain Esther Matthew and the Babatunde twins from Seasider Babes of Lagos, goalkeeper Precious Samuel, Prudence Onyinyechuku Samuel, and Bello Rahima of Rima Queens, Vera John of Bielsa Queens, and Damilola Akinlade of Delta Force, amongst others. And just also inform you that the championship will be held in Monastir, Tunisia.
All right, with more story just before we go on the break here, let's let you know that there will be a rematch between Adesanya and Strickland, and that has been confirmed by the chairman of the UFC there. You recall that Adesanya was beaten by Strickland, and it was a huge shock in the UFC because no one saw that coming. As a matter of fact, the bookmakers did predicted that Strickland was going to, win that match. And what's his name right now? This was going to win the match with a large margin, but then upset happened in any sport, and Strickland did cause an upset.
Absolutely, that was a major upset coming from Strickland. But the UFC boss Dana White has confirmed that the Nigerian-born New Zealander Israel Adesanya will be given a rematch against Sean Strickland after losing his middleweight belt to the American on Sunday morning at the Kudos Arena in Sydney, Australia. That is how it stands as it pertains updates coming from that angle, talking about the UFC. And still talking about the UFC, we'll stand to give you more updates coming from the UFC and also for the WWE. Would give you definitely what is going on in that aspect when it comes to their joint forces. But at this point in time, Joseph, let's go see some highlights from the Euros 2024 qualifiers and one of the oldest friendly matches when it comes to international friendlies, and that has to do with England and Scotland, played yesterday. We'll be right back.